What if the moments we remember most on TV were mistakes that should have never aired? Welcome to Past Paradise, where today we're diving headfirst into the jaw-dropping, awkward, and downright chaotic talk show moments that somehow made it past the editors. From interviews that spiraled out of control to guests who took things way too far, these clips were supposed to entertain, but left many producers cringing and viewers stunned. Think of tense walkouts, accidental confessions, unscripted clashes, and shocking reveals that had ripple effects long after the cameras stopped rolling. We'll revisit the time a celebrity stormed off mid-segment, the live gaffe that got censored in reruns, and the moment a host crossed a line so boldly that social media exploded in real time. With today's hyper-connected audiences, what once faded into forgotten late-night reruns now lives forever online, memed, dissected, and replayed millions of times. These weren't just TV bloopers. They became cultural moments that reshaped public opinion, ended careers, and even sparked apologies. Some say they should have been cut. Others call them unforgettable. So grab your popcorn, because we're about to relive the most iconic talk show moments that walked the tightrope between legendary and disastrous. When Oprah lost control on live TV. As the clear queen of daytime TV, Oprah Winfrey has had many memorable moments in her career. But in 2025, there was an event that sent shockwaves through the entertainment business. A live show put Oprah in a situation she wasn't expecting, which quickly escalated emotionally. A controversial guest on the show questioned Oprah's trustworthiness, sparking a heated argument that surprised both the audience in the studio and those watching at home. As the argument got worse, Oprah had a hard time staying calm. She looked shaken. The video of the moment quickly went viral on social media, sparking a significant conversation about the stresses of live TV and the expectations people have of public figures. Others attacked Oprah's response, wondering if she had lost her famous stage presence. Some supported her, saying that even the most experienced pros have weak times. The event reignited old debates about how the media is changing and the challenges talk show hosts face in an era when everything is being closely scrutinized. Despite the backlash, Oprah stayed strong. She discussed it in later talks and reaffirmed her commitment to being genuine. The episode served as a warning that even stars are people and can experience intense emotions in unusual situations. When everything was over, Oprah's reputation was still intact, showing that one moment of weakness can't ruin a career built on decades of groundbreaking TV. The event eventually made her even more famous, showing that even when things go wrong, Oprah Winfrey continues to fascinate people around the world. The Ellen Degenerous interview that went too far. People used to think Ellen Degenerous was one of the most critical talk show hosts, but she has had some heated times. However, one conversation is still being talked about years later. The famous discussion between Ellen and Dakota Johnson in 2019 resurfaced in 2025, sparking new debates about how star interviews are conducted and how hosts and guests should be treated. The chat started funny, but things got weird when Ellen joked that Dakota hadn't invited her to a birthday party. Without being upset, Dakota replied with a now iconic line that corrected Ellen and showed that the host seemed to be lying about what was going on. People looked at Ellen's body language and emotions as the video quickly went viral. Experts noted that Ellen's discomfort was evident, with slight signs of nervousness visible throughout the talk. People's ideas about talk show hosts and how they interact with guests have evolved, and this exchange has become a societal touchstone. In 2025, people were still discussing the conversation, and new theories were emerging about the underlying issues and the broader effects on the star society. People were paying more attention to the behavior of public persons after the event, which added to the growing discussion about sincerity in the media. Ellen's career had already been harmed by claims about the work environment on her show, but this talk was still a turning point in her life. When the conversation resurfaced in 2025, it demonstrated how popular media moments can influence public views long after they occur. David Letterman's most uncomfortable guest ever. David Letterman has had some awkward moments with guests. He is known for being very funny and sometimes being direct in his interviews. Several interviews over the years have stood out as especially awkward, making both the audience and the interviewees look nervous. When Madonna appeared on his show in 1994, they got into a tense argument full of profanity and defiance that became one of his most famous moments. Another disturbing meeting occurred in 2009 with Joaquin Phoenix, who appeared disheveled and acted strangely. It turned out that Phoenix was part of a performance art piece. Crispin Glover's peculiar behavior in 1987, including an unplanned karate kick, made Letterman look very angry. In 2025, Letterman's Netflix show, My Next Guest Needs No Introduction, featured a guest whose unusual behavior made the chat one of the most talked about of the year. While more information is still needed, sources indicate that the guest questioned Letterman's authority, which led to an awkward back and forth that left viewers wondering if it was genuine stress or a staged moment. Letterman has always been able to handle these kinds of events well, but there have been times when even he had trouble staying in charge. These times tell us that live talks are uncertain and that there is a fine line between entertaining and making people feel uncomfortable. Letterman is still a famous figure on TV, known for pushing the limits and keeping viewers engaged, even when things take a strange turn. These unique exchanges have left an indelible mark on his reputation, showing that sometimes the most awkward moments make for the most memorable TV. Wendy Williams' collapse that shocked millions. Talk show star Wendy Williams is frank and charming. Throughout her career, she has faced numerous challenges, but one event in particular left a lasting impact on millions of fans. Williams suddenly fell on stage during a live show, which sent shockwaves through the entertainment business. The accident, which at first looked like it was caused by being too hot, later showed that she had been having greater health problems for years. Williams already had Graves' disease and lymphedema, two conditions that make the body swell. Graves' disease is an autoimmune disorder that affects thyroid function. She continued to host her show despite these problems because she was determined to remain in the media. But over the next few years, her health problems became more obvious, which caused her to miss more shows and, finally, the end of the Wendy Williams show in 2022. In 2025, Williams' condition got worse, and she was told she had primary progressive aphasia and frontotemporal dementia. This was a terrible shock because it explained why she was acting strangely and losing her memories. A documentary released in 2024 provided an in-depth look at her issues, revealing the challenges she faced behind the scenes. Her fans and coworkers showed their support by recognizing her contributions to daytime TV and her effect on pop culture. Williams stayed a well-liked figure despite the problems, and many people hoped she would find peace and happiness in her personal life. Her fall was a stark warning of how much pressure public figures are under and how important it is to put your health before your job. Wendy Williams' strength remained a part of her story, even as people discussed her impact. Tom Cruise jumping on Oprah's couch, the moment that broke the internet. The famous time Tom Cruise jumped over the couch on the Oprah Winfrey Show is still one of the most talked about events in TV history. When the event happened in 2005, Cruz excitedly showed his love for Katie Holmes, who was dating him at the time, by jumping onto Oprah's couch. The act quickly went viral. The event has been discussed many times over the years, with people commenting on how it impacted Cruz's public image and how closely people scrutinized the behavior of celebrities. The event resurfaced in popular culture in 2025, with new retrospectives and studies examining how the Internet played a pivotal role in expanding the show's popularity. Although they were relatively new at the time of the original event, social media sites have since evolved into powerful tools for storytelling. Cruz's outburst is still a great example of how one moment can change the public's view of a star. There are new arguments about whether the response to Cruz's behavior was fair or overblown now that the couch-jumping incident is getting more attention. Some say that his excitement was innocent and just a part of his personality, while others argue that it changed the way the media perceives celebrities. People still discuss the event, even though they hold different views, which shows that some events in pop culture will never truly fade away. In various talks, Cruz has discussed the event, acknowledging that it had a lasting impact while still maintaining that his joy was genuine. People are still debating it, which makes it an interesting case study in media, star culture, and the influence of the internet on people's perspectives. The time a guest stormed off Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil has seen a lot of dramatic moments, but the big walk-offs that have shocked people are by far the best. One of the most talked about events of 2025 was a guest who stormed off the set quickly after getting angry with Dr. Phil. As part of the Most Difficult Guests special, the show featured a guest who had been in the news before acting in a way that caused controversy. As the argument got heated, Dr. Phil tried to calm things down by using his usual tough love style. But the guest wouldn't talk, and they got irritated before getting up and leaving the stage. The video went viral very quickly, sparking discussions about the stresses of live interventions and the emotional toll they take on those who participate. Some watchers felt sorry for the guest and said the argument was too heated, while others praised Dr. Phil for holding them responsible. The event reignited old debates about the morality of reality-based talk shows and the fine line between entertainment and genuine mental health support. Dr. Phil stayed strong in the face of criticism. He talked about it in later shows and reaffirmed his promise to help people through their problems. The walk-off showed that not all guests are willing to discuss their issues in front of the whole country. After everything was over, the episode became one of the most remembered in the show's history. This shows that Dr. Phil is still producing interesting TV that keeps people talking long after the cameras stop running. The View's on-air fight that went off the rails. There have always been heated arguments on The View, but in 2025, a fight between co-hosts Sunny Hostin and Alyssa Farah Griffin took a surprising turn, and Whoopi Goldberg had to step in. The heated argument occurred while they were discussing politics, and Hostin inquired about Griffin's past political affiliations. As the argument grew more heated, it became more personal, and both speakers began talking over each other out of anger. Griffin said Hostin was making claims without checking them out first, which made things worse. Hostin responded with a list of complaints. So heated was the fight that Goldberg had to cut to a commercial break and tell the panel that they needed to calm down before going on. Clips of the incident quickly spread on social media, sparking debates about how to conduct oneself professionally and how to discuss politics on daytime television. Some viewers thought the show was bad because it allowed the arguments to get out of hand, while others supported the hosts and said that The View's draw lies in its heated discussions. The event sparked new conversations about the challenges of balancing strong views with polite debate on TV. After the show, both Hostin and Griffin discussed the argument, emphasizing that they were committed to open conversations even when they disagreed. Goldberg, meanwhile, stressed how important it is to be polite and let different points of view be heard. The heated argument was one of the most talked-about parts of The View's history. It showed that even experienced hosts can struggle to keep conversations from getting out of hand when people are angry. The question that made Robert Downey Jr. walk out. People have always been drawn to Robert Downey Jr.'s charm and quick wit during interviews. But in 2025, one question pushed him to the edge, and he abruptly left the room, shocking everyone. The event happened during an interview to promote Downey's newest movie. The reporter suddenly changed the subject to Downey's past drug and legal problems. Downey has discussed his path to recovery openly in other interviews. Still, this one took a more personal turn when the reporter continued to ask questions that Downey believed were inappropriate. As the stress in the room rose, Downey tried to bring the talk back to his movie, but the reporter wouldn't let go. The actor had to get up, take off his microphone, and leave the interview without saying a word. The video went viral quickly, sparking discussions about the limits of famous interviews and the ethics of discussing personal problems for entertainment purposes. Some people supported Downey's action, saying that he was entitled to leave a talk that felt like it was meant to take advantage of him, while others said that famous people should expect to be asked tough questions. The event raised questions about media accountability and the fine line between reporting the truth and creating news. Downey stayed calm in later appearances, where he quickly talked about the issue and reaffirmed his resolve to focus on his work instead of dwelling on the past. That year, the exit was one of the most talked about events in the entertainment industry. It showed that even the most experienced stars can only take so much being questioned. Shers' brutal takedown of David Letterman. Cher never holds back, and her years of interacting with David Letterman are famous. When she finally decided to go on his show after years of refusing, it was one of the most memorable times. Letterman asked Cher why she hadn't accepted any of his offers, and Cher replied, "Because I thought you were an asshole." Letterman was shocked and briefly confused, but he quickly recovered with a joke. The conversation soon became one of the most famous moments in late-night TV history. It also cemented Cher's image as a brave and honest guest. In the years that followed, they became friends, and Cher made several visits to his show, even making fun of the famous insult. In 2024, Cher discussed the incident during a live show and stated that Letterman had told her it had traumatized him for 5 years. Even though it started tense, the exchange ultimately became a turning point in their relationship, as it revealed Cher's honesty and Letterman's ability to handle himself. When the conversation resurfaced in 2025, it sparked new discussions about how famous interviews operate and how to distinguish between lighthearted fun and genuine pain. Fans keep going back to that moment and loving how honest Cher was and how Letterman was ready to accept the unexpected. The time Cher slammed Letterman is still one of the most talked about events in the history of talk shows. It shows how defiant she is and how unpredictable live TV can be. People are still discussing the topic decades later and how to make interviews more engaging. The infamous rude guest on the Graham Norton show. Many famous people have slept on Graham Norton's famous red sofa, but some guests have left a bad impression for all the wrong reasons. One of the most notable events was when Mark Wahlberg appeared on the show and ruined the entire episode. Later, Norton said that Wahlberg was drunk during the tape, which is why he was acting strangely, like talking over other guests, sitting on Norton's lap, and even awkwardly stroking his chest. Wahlberg kept getting in the way of other people's talks, which made it difficult for other guests, such as Michael Fassbender and Sarah Silverman, to share their stories. Wahlberg even passed out during an interview at one point, which shocked Norton and the crowd. People quickly debated whether Wahlberg's actions were planned or the result of excessive drinking during the episode, which soon became one of the most talked-about moments in the show's history. After the uproar, Wahlberg stated that what he did was part of a planned joke with Silverman, but many people remained unconvinced. The event sparked new conversations about the challenges of live TV and the unpredictability of famous guests. Norton dealt with the chaos with his usual humor and skill, ensuring that the show remained interesting despite all the problems. The time has since been discussed in the show's retrospectives, showing that even the most experienced hosts can face difficulties they didn't expect. Even though A-list celebrities are still on the Graham Norton show, this famous scene shows that not all guests are ready to follow the rules of late-night TV. The banned interview from The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson was a famous host of The Tonight Show. He was known for being humorous and adept at handling unpredictable guests. But there were times when talks went too far, and Carson had to ban guests from ever coming back. Joan Rivers, who had been a regular guest and even led the show as a guest host, was banned for one of the most well-known reasons. Their friendship got worse when Rivers took an offer to work on a competing late-night talk show without telling Carson. Carson was then banned from working with Rivers until he retired. In another heated event, Bob Hope was allegedly banned because of problems behind the scenes. Carson also prohibited Wayne Newton after a heated argument that turned personal. People revisited Carson's strict guest rules in 2025, and retrospectives examined the power dynamics of late-night TV and how Carson's impact had altered the industry. Some people thought that his bans were too strict, but others said that they were needed to keep the show's character. Carson's Tonight Show became a cultural icon, and Hollywood gave his choices considerable weight. Fans remain interested in the stories of banned guests decades after they left the show, as they reveal the complexities of star relationships and TV politics. People who work in the late-night TV business are still studying Carson's ability to command the stage and set the rules for late-night shows. The interviews that were banned reveal the importance of maintaining a talk show's momentum, demonstrating that even the most famous hosts had limits on how guests could behave. That time, Dr. Oz was called out on his show. Dr. Mehmet Oz was once famous for giving medical advice during the day, but over the years he has come under fire for promoting questionable health cures. Even after his show stopped in 2022, people still talked about his image, especially after he became a politician. Some people spoke out against Oz's past support of controversial weight loss products in 2025 when the Senate was considering his nomination to be head of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Ron Wyden, a senator, led the charge and asked Oz about his past of pushing medical treatments on TV that were not backed up by evidence. The argument quickly got hot. Oz was defending his record, while his critics brought up past cases and claims that he had lied to the public. The event sparked new conversations about the role of medical experts in the media and the moral issues that arise when mixing entertainment with health advice. Oz said his goal was to teach and inspire his viewers, but many people didn't believe him, claiming that his show spread false information. The trouble surrounding his approval meeting highlighted how his TV job would impact people for a long time and how challenging it is to transition from being a celebrity to working for the government. Even though people didn't like what Oz was saying, he persisted and emphasized his dedication to healthcare reform. People hold public figures, especially doctors, to high standards, and past actions can come back to haunt them in unexpected ways. The discussion went on, and it became clear that Oz's reputation would always be linked to the attention he got on TV and the problems that followed him into politics. The cringeworthy moment between Andy Cohen and a drunk guest. On live TV, Andy Cohen has had his fair share of crazy moments, but his 2025 New Year's Eve show had one of the most talked about events of the year. Cohen was drunk as the night went on while hosting CNN's yearly New Year's Eve coverage with Anderson Cooper. This is something that they always do. But things took a strange turn when singer Diplo showed up late for his DJ set and gave a peculiar reason. His plane was late. Cohen, who was already stuttering, thought the reason was funny and ridiculous, which made him laugh out loud for a moment. Also very drunk, Anderson Cooper joined in and joked that he would like to live in a world where helicopter delays were expected. People were quick to answer whether the two's drinking on TV had gone too far after the exchange went viral. The situation got worse when Diplo casually admitted that he had taken LSD on his way to the event. Cohen and Cooper were shocked and had a hard time processing the news while they were drunk. People talked about whether or not it was acceptable for hosts to be drunk on live TV and whether CNN should change how it handles the yearly show. Some viewers thought the event was amusing, while others deemed it unprofessional. Even though it caused a stir, Cohen and Cooper laughed it off, enjoying the chaos as part of their special New Year's Eve ritual. The popular video made Cohen's image of being unstable on TV even stronger. It showed that anything can happen on national TV when drink and live broadcasts are mixed. The shocking fight that made Steve Wilos famous. People know Steve Wilos for taking a straightforward approach to controversial TV topics. He has built a name for handling challenging situations on his talk show. He got his start in show business as the security head for the Jerry Springer Show, but it was a shocking fight on his show that made him a national name. In 2025, an intense argument between two guests went beyond the everyday heated encounters, and Wilos had to step in with force that had never been seen before. There were claims of treason and lying, and the fight quickly got out of hand because of the strong feelings involved. Wilos was never one to back down, so he physically separated the guests, showing that he was in charge. The moment was captured on camera live and became instantly popular on social media, sparking debates about the morality of resolving conflicts on TV. Others wondered if such heated arguments should be shown, while others praised Wilos for keeping things calm. The event reignited long-standing debates about how talk shows should address personal issues and the delicate balance between entertainment and exploitation. Despite the backlash, Wilos stuck to his plan and emphasized that he was committed to helping people address their problems directly. The fight became one of the most talked about events in the history of the show. It also made Wilkos look like a host who won't stand for disrespect or violence. When everything was over, the show served as a valuable lesson on how unpredictable live TV can be and how challenging it is to handle tense situations in front of a national audience. Wilkos's ability to take charge of the stage made sure that his reputation as a significant force in daytime TV would live on. When Rosie O'Donnell and Elizabeth Hasselbach exploded on The View. Rosie O'Donnell and Elizabeth Hasselbach's heated argument on The View is still remembered as one of the worst moments in the history of daytime TV. Their heated argument began in May 2007 and quickly turned into a full-on screaming match when it came to the Iraq War. O'Donnell said Hasselbach wasn't protecting her from threats from the media, but Hasselbach responded that O'Donnell's words had been misunderstood. Because the argument became so heated, the makers switched to a split-screen format, which was an unusual move that exacerbated the fight. The backlash was immediate. O'Donnell quit the show before it was supposed to air, and the event became a turning point in The View's history. The issue had arisen repeatedly over the years, and both women have reflected on the strain and its impact on them. During a 2024 quiz piece, The View brought up the fight, sparking new conversations about how political talk is handled on TV. In later podcasts, O'Donnell discussed the event and stated that Hasselbach made her feel cheated during the conversation. Both women have continued to shape their careers despite their differences. Hasselbach has made guest spots on The View, and O'Donnell has kept up her public speaking job. The explosive moment remains a great example of how live TV can reveal talks as they genuinely are, demonstrating that even experienced hosts can struggle to maintain their composure when discussing highly controversial subjects. As The View changes, this famous fight serves as a warning of how unpredictable live TV can be and how long-lasting the effects of on-air fights can be. The interview so uncomfortable it was never aired again. Jane Fonda's interview at the Screen Actors Guild Awards in 2025 was one of the most talked-about awkward interviews of that year. Lily Singh interviewed Fonda on the red carpet, and she looked stressed. She answered quickly and even pushed back against Singh's words. The conversation soon went global, with people calling it aggressive and awkward. Fonda, who was supposed to get a Lifetime Achievement Award, didn't seem interested in talking. She gripped her microphone hard and paused for long periods before answering questions. She seemed to stare at the interviewer at times instead of taking part in the talk. Singh tried to get Fonda to say something, but the actor firmly told her, "Those were your words, not mine," which made things worse. People in the room cringed, and many wondered if Fonda was purposely holding back or just feeling awkward in the scenario. Many people talked about the interview online. Some defended Fonda's quiet personality, while others said the conversation was strange. People discussed again how challenging live talks are and how unpredictable it is when celebrities connect with the public. There have been many famous times in Fonda's career, but this exchange stood out as one of the most awkward in recent memory. Although there was a lot of debate, Fonda stayed calm during the awards show. This shows that even the most experienced stars can feel uncomfortable in public. The conversation turned out to be a case study of how hard it is to be in public and walk the fine line between being professional and feeling uncomfortable. When Piers Morgan lost his cool on air. Piers Morgan has never been afraid of trouble, but in 2025, he lost his temper in a way that shocked everyone. Morgan and writer Taylor Lorenz got into a heated argument on Morgan's show, Uncensored, about the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Lorenz is known for being vocal, and she seemed to smile during the conversation. This made Morgan angry, and she asked, "What the F are you laughing at?" Things quickly got worse, as Morgan tried to stay calm, but was upset by Lorenz's answers. People had different opinions on whether Morgan's response was appropriate or too strong, but it became one of the most talked-about events on TV that year. While some supported his reaction by saying that the subject needed to be seriously discussed, others said he wasn't acting professionally. The incident started new discussions about how media should handle emotionally charged topics and the thin line between intense speech and open hatred. Later, Morgan talked about what happened. He admitted that his response was strong, but he stuck to his point of view. The popular moment highlighted the unpredictability of live TV and the challenges of having tough conversations in real time. As the argument continued, it became clear that Morgan's fiery personality was still a significant part of how he presented himself. He stuck to his position, even though there was pushback, showing that even experienced hosts can have trouble keeping their cool when there are heated debates. Morgan became one of the most divisive people in modern media because of this event, which kept his name at the center of the public discussion. The moment a celebrity was ambushed on set. When Mark Summers said he was snuck up on during an interview for the docuseries Quiet on Set in 2024, he caused a big stir that no one saw coming. Summers decided to be in the documentary because he thought he would be talking about his good experiences with Nickelodeon. He is best known for leading Nickelodeon's Double Dare. However, in the middle of the interview, he was shown a video about the poor working conditions that existed under the director's watch, Dan Schneider. This was something that he hadn't been told would be talked about. Afterward, Summers said that the quick change in subject caught him off guard and that he felt manipulated by the reporters. The conversation went viral very quickly, and people were arguing whether Summers had been unfairly put on the spot or whether the documentary's approach to presenting hard facts was the right way to do it. Summers finally left the interview because he didn't like what he called a bait-and-switch strategy. The debate started new conversations about what is right and wrong in news and why documentary producers need to be honest with the people they film. Even though Summers said he didn't know about the accusations against Snyder before the event, it showed how hard it is to review past industry problems. After the conversation, Nickelodeon's past was examined more closely, and former employees and stars shared their own experiences. Even though the discussion continued until 2025, the event remained a key example of how shocking new information can alter public narratives and challenge long-held beliefs about beloved TV shows. When Howard Stern crossed the line on national TV. Howard Stern's whole job is to break the rules, but in 2025, one of his shows caused a considerable backlash. Stern said some rude things about a famous star in an episode of The Howard Stern Show. This immediately angered fans and the media. When clips of the episode went online, the debate got worse. Critics said Stern's comments were unethical. Stern has always had a style that prompts people to think, but this event reignited discussions about the boundaries of shock entertainment in modern media. Others called for Stern to be held accountable and asked if some topics should stay off limits. Stern's supporters said that his method has always been unashamedly honest. Because of the reaction, SiriusXM released a statement separating itself from Stern's comments. However, Stern stayed stubborn and talked about the scandal on a later show. People continued to debate the role of free speech in entertainment and whether well-known media figures should adapt to changing times. Stern continued to rule the radio despite the uproar, showing that he was still able to make news. The debate highlighted how media usage is evolving, with people speaking out more frequently to hold public figures accountable. As the episode was discussed further, it became clear that Stern's reputation would always be linked to his ability to provoke people into anger. This would keep his name at the center of conversations about the future of entertainment and what is and isn't acceptable speech. That time Ellen mocked her guest a bit too much. There is a long history of Ellen Degenerous' joking around with her guests, but her jokes have sometimes gone too far, making celebrities look awkward. In 2025, one of the most talked about moments came up again when old talks with Degenerous that pushed the edges of fun were shown again. In one case, Degenerous forced Mariah Carey to say she was pregnant on her 2008 show, even though she wasn't ready to do so. Degenerous gave Carey a glass of champagne and demanded she take a sip. She knew that if she didn't, it would prove the story's true. Even though Carey looked uncomfortable, she tried to avoid answering, but Degenerous kept asking. This led to an awkward conversation that many people later called intrusive. The chat with Dakota Johnson, in which DeGeneres joked that Johnson hadn't invited her to a birthday party, also got a lot of attention. Johnson, who wasn't upset, told DeGeneres that she had made a request, which made the host speechless for a moment. Many retrospectives examine the fine line between being funny and being insensitive, discussing instances where DeGeneres made guests feel uncomfortable, as well as other notable examples. Even though DeGeneres built her reputation on funny jokes and teasing, there were times when her antics felt more like public embarrassment than entertainment. As people talked more about famous talks, these times served as reminders of how important it is to keep limits, even when it's for laughs. DeGeneres remained a significant figure in entertainment despite the problems, but her reputation was still shaped by arguments about the morality of her show hosting. When rude comments on Dr. Phil turned the audience against him. People have long known that Dr. Phil McGraw is honest with his guests, but in 2025, one show caused a huge reaction. McGraw asked the author of Bum Fights to appear on his show during a segment meant to discuss controversial content makers. When the guest arrived, he looked exactly like McGraw, with a beard and bald head. At that very time, an awkward conversation began when the guest accused McGraw of being dishonest by saying that his show took advantage of weak people, just like Bum Fights did. The accusation made McGraw feel uneasy, and he quickly told the cameras to stop rolling and told the guest to leave the stage. As security led him out, the guest continued to question McGraw, asking if his TV actions really helped people or just made their problems entertaining to watch. At first, people in the crowd were in favor of McGraw, but when the guest made their claims, they started to whisper, and some seemed to change their minds. People have been debating the morality of therapy on TV, as well as whether McGraw's methods are genuinely helpful or merely devised to attract more viewers. Later, former workers of the show came forward with behind-the-scenes stories that backed up the guest's claims, which made the issue even worse. People were split on whether McGraw was unfairly challenged or rightly called out in that moment, which became one of the most direct challenges to his method ever shown on his show. As the debate continued, the episode remained a key example of how live TV can reveal uncomfortable truths that prompt people to question the stories they had long believed to be true. The talk show that accidentally revealed a celebrity secret. One of the most shocking celebrity news stories of 2025 happened on the red carpet at the Met Gala, where Shakira accidentally told everyone that Rihanna was pregnant before the artist had officially announced it. NBC News interviewed Shakira, who talked about how excited she was to see Rihanna at the event and lightly mentioned that she had just heard the news. The reporter looked confused, so Shakira cleared things up by saying she's pregnant before she realized her mistake right away. Her shocked look and quick attempt to retract what she said made the moment even more memorable. The mistake was made just hours before Rihanna showed off her baby bump at the famous fashion event, which made Shakira's mistake go viral. Fans had different ideas about whether what happened was an accident or an invasion of privacy. People know Rihanna for keeping her personal life under wraps. Before the gala, she hinted at big news, which led many to think it was about her long-awaited record. Instead, finding out she was pregnant took the spotlight, making other essential parts of the event seem less critical. In a later conversation, Rihanna's boyfriend, A$AP Rocky, revealed the news and said he was happy about their growing family. While this was going on, Shakira laughed about it in a later interview, making fun of how quickly Rihanna had moved. It was one of the most talked-about gaffes of the year and showed that even the most experienced stars can slip up in live talks. The event demonstrated how random red carpet encounters can be and how challenging it is to keep personal news private in this age of rapid media coverage. How a guest insulted the host live. When host Jack Whitehall made a joke about Sean Diddy Combs during the Brit Awards in 2025, it became one of the most talked-about moments in live TV history. Although Whitehall is known for his biting humor, he brought up Diddy's famous white party during his comments, which the crowd did not like. People were furious about the joke, which came after a performance by Jade, and they posted about it on social media right away. Many people thought the comment was rude, especially since Diddy is still facing legal troubles. Even though Whitehall tried to move on, the stress in the room was palpable as the response unfolded in real time. Fans criticized the host on social media platforms like X, and some even requested that he not be hired as a host again. People are talking again about the limits of comedy at live events and whether some topics should be off limits. Even though Whitehall has made a name for himself with dark humor, this moment showed that even experienced hosts can get the crowd wrong. That part of the show went global, making some of the best acts of the night seem less critical. Whitehall didn't apologize as the argument continued. He defended his comic style while accepting the criticism. It was a valuable lesson on how unpredictable live TV can be and how fine the line is between humor and controversy. Whether Whitehall meant it or not, his joke made sure that the 2025 Brit Awards would be known for more than just the music. When Whoopi Goldberg had to apologize on TV. While Whoopi Goldberg has been a regular on The View for years, her anger hit a peak in 2025 during a heated talk about the state of politics after Trump's re-election. Goldberg looked irritated as the talk got more heated during a section that looked at how the election affected people. Goldberg attempted to shift the conversation away from specific issues, such as Trump's second term, toward broader concerns like democracy and civil rights. The conversation quickly turned into a tumultuous back and forth, though, with speakers talking over each other. Goldberg threw up her hands and said, "I can't do this today," before she quickly got up and left the set. The moment shocked both those present and those watching at home. Many people took to social media to express their shock and dismay. Others said Goldberg should have stayed in the fight instead of leaving in the middle of it, while others said she did the right thing by not getting involved. People are discussing again how challenging it is to discuss politics on daytime TV and how it can affect hosts' emotions. Later, Goldberg talked about the walk-off. She said that she needed some time to calm down and that she was still committed to having essential conversations on the show. Even though it caused a stir, Goldberg went back on The View the next day and reaffirmed her commitment to the show, even though she admitted it was hard to talk about such controversial issues. It was one of the most talked about moments in The View's history, highlighting the stress of live TV and the unpredictability of political debate. This is the interview that got a host fired. The FM 100 talkback host Culligan Tanda was embroiled in a scandal in April 2025 after a conversation with East Sepik Governor Alan Bird led to his termination. Tanda had worked for the station for years before Kalang Advertising Limited, which owns FM 100, suddenly fired him and didn't pay him for 3 weeks. People were worried about the fairness of the media because Tanda said he hadn't broken any rules. Reports say that the punishment was given because high-level officials were reportedly unhappy with Bird's performance on the show. Tanda noted that the decision was made for political reasons, citing a call from the top to FM 100 CEO, who was told to remember the station's government ties. When FM 100 removed the interview from its Facebook page and revoked Tanda's management access, the debate escalated, fueling more rumors about outside interference. Tanda later discussed the issue at a special parliamentary committee on communications, where he questioned the transparency of the process for disciplining individuals. He stated that routine procedures, such as issuing both direct and written warnings, had not been followed, which made the ban appear unfair. People are discussing press freedom and how media groups can maintain their journalistic independence in the aftermath of this event. FM 100 stated that the ban was fair, but some people viewed it as an example of politics interfering with the news. As the argument progressed, Tanda's case became a central topic in larger discussions about the difficulties reporters face when working in highly charged areas. The debate highlighted the challenges faced by the media in striking a balance between their own morals and external influences within their field. Audiences are still gasping over this live TV event. On Real Time with Bill Maher, Bill Maher talked to California Governor Gavin Newsom. It was one of the most shocking live TV moments of 2025. The conversation quickly went viral, and it was during it that Maher questioned Newsom's views on progressive policies. This led to a heated argument that left the crowd gasping. Because Maher is known for his sarcastic and uncensored comments, he pushed Newsom on tough choices and showed where his cases fell apart. As things got worse, Newsom had a hard time defending his position because Maher kept asking him questions. Many people had different opinions on whether Maher's actions were appropriate or too harsh. Still, the scene became a classic example of how live TV can create unexpected and unplanned drama. Some people praised Maher for holding a politician responsible, while others said the piece was too hostile. The video that went viral caused a lot of discussion on social media, and political experts shared their thoughts on what the conversation meant. The event demonstrated the unpredictability of live talks and the challenges faced by famous individuals in responding to tough questions in real time. The event stayed one of the most talked about on TV that year, showing that even experienced lawmakers can have problems when they're under a lot of stress. It doesn't matter if Maher intended for the talk to be remembered for years to come because of its openness. The audience's gasps revealed the tension in the conversation, making the part of the show one of the most dramatic live TV moments of 2025. The time a star left in the middle of a question. Walkouts by famous people have always been exciting, but in 2025, one moment jumped out. The actress Morgan Wallen suddenly left the interview on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon in the middle of a question, which shocked both Fallon and the crowd. The fight started when Fallon asked Wallen about his current problems, like how he publicly apologized for things he said in the past. Wallen, who looked tense during the interview, stood up, muttered something under his breath, and left the set without saying anything. Fallon was shocked and tried to lighten the mood by saying that Wallen might have just remembered that he left his car running. However, the moment quickly went viral, and fans began to speculate why Wallen left without warning. Some people thought he was annoyed by the questions, while others thought he just wasn't ready to talk about what he did in the past on national TV. The event sparked new discussions about the responsibilities of celebrities and the stress of live interviews. Later, Wallen talked about it on social media, saying that he had been too stressed out and needed to take a break. However, the incident was still one of the most talked about in entertainment that year. Even though Fallon is known for being laid back, he handled the situation professionally, but the awkwardness of the conversation remained. People who participated in the walkout demonstrated the unpredictability of live TV, showing that even famous people can encounter problems in public. No matter if Wallen meant to leave or not, it was clear that the conversation would be remembered for a long time. The shocking truth that Dr. Oz revealed was that producers tried to hide. After President Trump nominated Dr. Mehmet Oz to lead the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, he was the subject of considerable debate during his Senate confirmation hearing in 2025. While the meeting was supposed to be about his skills and his plans for healthcare reform, things took a strange turn when it came out that he had financial ties to health companies that had not been known about before. Senators questioned Oz about his past support of weight loss products, wondering if his business interests might make him less trustworthy in his new job. People were outraged right away, saying that Oz's past of promoting questionable medical products made him unfit to be in charge of national health care policies. There was even more uproar when it was said that the makers of his old talk show had tried to stop people from talking about his business ties during earlier shows. Trying to control the story only made people more skeptical, which led to calls for more openness. During the meeting, Oz explained his past actions and said that his suggestions were always based on scientific study. However, the situation worsened, and lawmakers requested further investigations into his past business dealings. It was one of the most talked about events in politics and the media, and it showed how hard it can be to go from being funny to doing good. Even though Oz was confirmed in the end, the argument over his trustworthiness continued, which raised bigger questions about how the media affects government leadership. The debate highlighted the importance of healthcare policy being accountable and public officials being held to the highest ethical standards. The slur that made James Corden completely quiet. A joke James Corden told about Dame Judi Dench didn't go over well with the crowd at the 2025 Breakthrough Prize event, making things awkward for him. The Gavin and Stacey star, who is known for being funny, tried to lighten the mood by saying something racy about Dench and Dr. Anthony Fauci, who used to be the top medical expert. People didn't laugh at the joke, which suggested that the two might meet romantically, but they were shocked and silent. At the event, cameras caught Olivia Wilde's response. She looked shocked by what was said. People on social media quickly discussed whether Corden had crossed a line as the video gained popularity. Some supported his sense of humor by saying that risky jokes are common at award shows, but others thought it was wrong, given Dench's well-known status in the business. This was the latest in a long line of heated events involving Corden, which also includes fights with famous people and claims of rude behavior. Corden didn't respond right away to the backlash, so fans were left wondering if he would say sorry or stand by what he said. It was clear that there is a thin line between funny and offensive, especially in real life, where people's responses are hard to predict. Even after all the talk, the event was still one of the most talked about of the year, demonstrating that even experienced performers can misjudge their audience. Whether Corden intended his joke to be funny or not, it ensured that the 2025 Breakthrough Prize event would be remembered for more than just honoring scientific progress. When a talk show host was mistakenly called dishonest on air. One of the craziest live TV events of 2025 happened when an ABC host was fired for lying about Vice President Kamala Harris during a heated argument. They talked about it on a political talk show where the host questioned Harris's comments about economic plans. The host directly accused Harris of tricking the public, which led to a heated discussion, prompting an instant pushback from the network. The shock of the moment came when the host was suddenly taken off the show, and an unplanned commercial break began. The event quickly went viral, sparking discussions about the ethics of journalism, the limits of free speech, and the proper manner of discussing politics in major media. Some supported the host by arguing that holding politicians accountable is an essential part of news coverage, while others deemed the host's behavior rude and inappropriate. When ABC released a statement denying any involvement with the comments and emphasizing its commitment to fair reporting, the debate intensified. Harris later talked about the situation in an interview, denying the charge and restating her position on the policies in question. As a result of what happened, people began discussing media bias and the stress that writers covering famous politicians experience. As the talks progressed, the event remained one of the most talked about moments on TV that year. It showed how unpredictable live shows can be and what can happen when you challenge influential people on air. The moment ensured that discussions about media ethics would remain at the top of the public agenda, whether viewed as a brave act of telling the truth or an unacceptable breach of professionalism. The talk show interview that made Beyonce's team mad. Beyonce's rare interview after the Grammys in 2025 shocked the Bayhive, but not in a way fans thought it would. After Cowboy Carter won Album of the Year, Beyoncé shocked everyone by doing something she hadn't done in years, an unplanned private interview. Fans were excited, but things quickly went south when the reporter asked her about reports that had been going around for a long time about her next project. It looked like Beyoncé, who is known for carefully managing her public image, was caught off guard for a moment before she smoothly avoided the question. The reporter kept going, though, and asked if there were problems in her management team and if recent changes in the industry had affected her artistic direction. It wasn't hard to tell that Beyoncé's team was upset because they could be seen yelling behind the cameras. The conversation quickly went global, and fans dissected every word, wondering if the interviewer had gone too far. Some people said that Beyoncé remained calm about the situation, while others noted that the media often puts artists in awkward situations. The event sparked new conversations about the privacy of famous individuals and the pressure of maintaining a flawless public image. Despite the backlash, Beyoncé remained focused on enjoying her historic win. She later made a sly reference to the incident in an Instagram post. People talked a lot about the conversation after the 2025 Grammys, showing that even the most prominent stars can find themselves in strange positions. Whether they meant to or not, the exchange ensured that Beyonce's win would be recognized not only for being a significant achievement, but also for providing people with a rare glimpse into the challenges of dealing with fame. The Time talk show host was horrified on their production. When Kelly Ripa said on Live with Kelly and Mark in January 2025 that she didn't like Thin Mints, one of the most popular Girl Scout cookie types, her viewers had a surprising response. The talk about the end of two types of Girl Scout cookies started as a fun piece, but when Ripa casually said she didn't like Thin Mints, the studio crowd booed. Mark Consuelos, her husband and co-host, joined in and told the crowd to keep reacting. Since Ripa is known for being witty, she told the crowd to shut up in jest at the time. The conversation quickly went global, and fans were debating whether the reaction was over the top or just a fun aspect of live TV. Some people thought the audience's response was funny, while others thought that yelling over a cookie choice was too much. The event demonstrated how unpredictable live TV can be, as even small words can elicit surprising responses. Ripa didn't care about the jokey reaction, which is another reason why she is still one of the most popular daytime TV hosts. That year, it was one of the most talked about parts of the show, showing that even the most minor things can become popular. The exchange, whether it was meant to be or not, made sure that anything could happen on Live with Kelly and Mark. When an A-list star refused to do the interview. The famous artist Babyface seemed to be turned down during a red carpet interview at the 2025 Grammys. This was one of the most talked about parts of the event. Associated Press writers were talking to Babyface about his work and what he has done for the music business when the incident happened. During the talk, one of the reporters suddenly turned their attention to Chappelle Rowan, a rising star who was walking by. As always, Babyface stepped away with class and told the reporters to go do that while they looked at Rowan. Fans were furious about what they saw as blatant disrespect for a music star, and the video quickly went viral. Many people were angry on social media that the reporters chose to focus on a new singer over an established star. Many people were upset, including Khloe Kardashian, who stated that Babyface had a significant impact on the industry and that the interaction was maddening. Due to the backlash, the reporters had to apologize, attributing the mistake to the chaos of red carpet events. It was clear that Babyface remained calm during the debate, which is another reason why he is regarded as one of the most influential figures in music. The event sparked new conversations about how senior artists are treated in the entertainment industry and the importance of honoring their heritage. Even though the Grammys are known for having unexpected moments, this conversation stood out as a good example of how important it is to be polite and professional in live talks.
If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon